Beautiful spring, beautiful, beautiful spring. It's really nice to see everything finally greening up around here. It's been a really slow spring. Not that I'm really coming from a place to know how the spring of Lithuania operates. I'm just figuring it all out. But yeah, things are really amazing here, and it's really beautiful to be working the land every day and being blessed to hear the river flowing wherever we are in the garden. It's such a nice place. I really love it here. Every country's got its marvels, of course, but I'm really loving Lithuania, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how I adapt to the Baltic region climate. Minus 25 degrees Celsius in winter, like months packed in of snow. So coming from Australia, it's like total opposite of what you'd expect to see in my home country. So yeah, just thought I'd do a live and touch base with some people and some how's being a father going. Really interesting. They say that something changes in you when you become a mother or a father, and I really feel that. I really feel that. It's like easiest way to describe it would be that you've been given an addition to your DNA, and that you are able to be like, not necessarily extrasensory, but it gives you more depth. And yeah, it's really interesting, really rewarding, and the more she grows, the more rewarding it will be, because there's so many things that we'll be able to do together. And she's like, every time I'm always out in the garden, and my wife's the one that, you know, spends the majority of the time with her, and spend as much time as I can with her. Every time I come in for a break, I'm always in her face and always get big smiles right back. So it's just like really rewarding to get that really beautiful smile back from something that we are able to create. And yeah, I feel really blessed to have her in my life. So this is, I'll just show you a bit of the landscape here. This is this where you see a lot of dandelions. The whole fields are just like filled with dandelions, and so this month we'll be acquiring around about a hectare here. The property that we moved into, it's half a hectare, and we purchased it from a really lovely old couple whose father was living in the property for most of his life, and he had everything built. And I've heard many stories from the guy that set everything up here, but the people we purchased the place from, they have guaranteed us 1.5 hectares across the river, which is just a little bit like 1 minute walk from our front door. And I'll just show you. So we're looking to get this portion of land this month, which we've really been waiting out for, because we're going to do a big plantation there. Most of the stuff we're doing is food forest, so everything and anything you can think of will be what we decide to grow. So just across the river here, from say here all the way down to, can't really show you much because it's really packed with trees in the spring. You can usually see straight through there in the winter, but it's a pretty long, narrow block. And yeah, so on 1 hectare we're planning to do maybe even an acre we're planning to do either an acre or a hectare of black walnut trees, sort of like a future investment. And we have, one of our first plans was to do round about an acre of asparagus. So we ordered roughly 20,000 seeds and we've got to germinate them. That's also a future investment because it takes a few years to get that going, and I'm not really much of an asparagus fan, honestly, but it's a really big commodity here, and it's like the amount of produce that the Lithuanians have of asparagus, they don't have enough. So I think I saw the numbers were like, around 250,000 kilograms of it are consumed every year by Lithuanian people, and there's only like 60,000 kilograms in production here. So yeah, we've got a lot going on here, and today we got different types of berry trees. Like whenever we go into the local markets, we're always buying from the growers, and we've got a lot of seeds. We've got lots of seeds, but we're looking to get a lot of established plants as well. Maybe 3-5 year growth, just give a bit of a kickstart for what we're doing here. And so yeah, got 6 cranberries today as well. Been doing a little bit of research on cranberries. I didn't even know that they were ground dwellers. I didn't know they were forest floor. So everything we're doing, we're trying to incorporate into our food forest design so that everything's got a place. I hope you're all doing really well. It's what I wish for everyone. I wish I could say the same for everybody else's desires in the world. Like, not everybody is programmed to wish the best for everybody, which is real black magic. You can either bless someone or you can curse them, and to wish the best for somebody it's real white magic. You're really being rewarded by doing so, and yeah, I don't know what I can show you all. Everything's sort of like a little bit messy at the moment because yeah, we're just really setting things up, and yeah, so the life you want to live, if that's the life you want to live, do it. There's no shortage of ability to live the life that you want to live. And one day, my friend, one day, anytime, whenever you're ready is when you're ready. Just want to show you guys, actually, we've got like a lot of apple trees here and quite a few cherry trees, but I just want to show you one of the apple trees that's in bloom. It's so beautiful, and the cherry tree. So this is one of the apple trees that are in bloom. It's so beautiful to see this. This is our growing house, just going to be our seed house eventually. And we've got quite a lot of different trees growing all down this section here. But this is the cherry tree. It's sort of been in bloom for the last week, and yeah, it's just sort of losing its bloom a little bit. I'll show you something really funny. So yesterday we had our mulch pile delivered. I'll just show you another apple tree quickly, actually. This one's so beautiful. So this is a bit of our front garden area. This is one of the other apple trees that are in bloom. There's so many things that we are growing here, and the previous owners were actually, they loved flowers, so I'll just wait for this tractor to go past. People are really There you go, Russian tractor, Soviet Union tractor. They say that anything that was built during the Soviet Union was built to last. So this is our mulch pile here. Looks a bit like a dick and balls, doesn't it? So when the truck came and delivered it yesterday, he tipped his tipper all the way up and he couldn't get it out. So yeah, it's really hilarious. You have to get a tractor to come and hold the tipper up. And so yeah, this is going to provide a lot of moisture into the garden. And there's your big penis shaped mulch pile. So what we have here is lots of flowering plants, lots of pollinators. This is the main shed where a lot of stuff goes. I'm going to be painting the whole thing black just to give it a bit of a more cleaner look. This is our house. This is where we call home. Really cozy little place. We've basically just refurbished the whole thing and made it come to life again. These are all our summer raspberries. Oh, sorry, these are autumn raspberries. We've got about 60 or 70 of them. And then this whole area here is just packed full of raspberries. And then we've got a couple of plum trees over there. And so our plan, I'm going to build a 1.8 meter fence all the way around the front of the property, and I'm just doing like a shade cloth doubled over just to give it a bit of extra privacy. Here's another apple tree in bloom. I love this, it's so beautiful to see, and the flowers actually smell really beautiful. And I don't really have, like, you know, I never spent much time around apple trees. Lithuania is just full of apple trees. And yeah, we've got quite a lot of stuff that we've been planting, and yeah. So land in Lithuania is really cheap, and depending on where you live, it's pretty expensive, but when you come out to the villages, it is really quite easy to, not if you're a Lithuanian, like the income here is really, really poor, and yeah, like they've been through a lot of stuff. So the minimum wage here is like €400 a month. So in Australian dollars, it's like $550 a month. And yeah, so this area here, where you see a lot of soil here, this was like a ramp, like a metal ramp that went all the way down here, and there's a big drop off there. And that's where I guess the previous owner would fix all these tractors and everyone in the town's tractors. And so I've just gotten quite a bit of soil delivered, and I've just been seeding this area so that it's a bit more safe for the little one. And yeah, so this is our plantation of 50 blueberries. They're really healthy. They're really, really healthy in their acidic soil. There's quite a lot in there. You can't really make it out, but they're about mostly 3 years old. And then on the edgings here, we've put rhododendrons, which call the bees to the blueberries, and they love the same soil, the acidic soil. So don't ask me what I'm doing here. I found these in the house and I was like, I've got to add them to the garden somewhere. So bought this beautiful flowering tree today. It's so nice. I thought the bees would love that. I don't know what it is. If anyone knows what it is, feel free to tell me. I love it. I was like really cold to get it. And these are our cranberries. So I'm going to put mulch down and then plant them all in there. I could show you a lot more, but great space, happy growing bud. Yeah, literally lots of buds growing, and it's really peaceful. I don't think I've ever felt this peaceful in my life, just being able to work the land. And yeah, it's really nice. I'll show you something else actually. So this whole area here, I've put seeds in for grass. Eventually there'll be beds everywhere. Like my future plans don't have much room for grass, but we're going to keep a lot of weeds growing. So this whole area was a stick pile that came up to like here. It was huge. And bleeding heart plant. Geez, if that's right, I'm very happy to know that. Thank you. So up this ladder, I've got, I don't know if this one's going to take off good, but I've got 3 hop plants, really nice medicine, and I've got to cut these back a bit. I haven't cut them back since I transplanted them, but they'll grow up this whole ladder, and I'll be able to have hops and make lots of medicines with them. I'll show you something else. So it's a really nice apple tree that we got from a local grower. So you've got 3 grafts on here, and this one is early year fruit, this one's mid-year apples, and this one's late year apples. So it'll be really interesting to see how that one grows. And apparently this apple tree, she's huge, the one we've got the ladder growing up, she hasn't provided much fruit last year, and they say that one year they don't provide much and the next year they provide an abundance. So I've really cleaned up underneath her, and I really want to see what she can do for us this year. And so this area here, I've just planted, we planted probably about 300 sunflower seeds, so we'll see how that goes. And look at this beautiful berry tree in bloom. She's so lovely. A lot of these pines, I don't know what the previous owner was doing. Apparently she was like selling these pines, but a lot of these pines here, they're too close together. So we're going to take a lot of them down to the river and grow out that space with a bit of nice growth. Another beautiful apple tree in bloom. We've got quite a few hazelnuts growing on the property as well that have really brought some nice quality to what we're doing here. So I'll show you something. We got a few days, probably like maybe 5 days ago or so, we got 6 varieties of grape plants from our favourite local grower. He invited us to his property, and he's just growing everything, and he just spends his whole life just gardening, and he's a really beautiful guy. His wife died, and then he found someone else that he could nurture the land with, and anyways, so we basically go to him as our first guy for everything we need plant-wise, and he's got a lot of established growth. So I'll show you something else. So I demolished a shed down here. This one here, like, you wouldn't believe how much wood is in this shed. But what I want to do is I want to remove all of the wood out of the shed, all of the asbestos walls. Most of the wood, like everyone in Lithuania, has always got stocked up wood because of how cold it is. But we're looking at getting all gas heated floors in the house, which will reduce the time efficiency for having to always light the fire, and we've got so much to do around here that anything less is better. But yeah, what I'd like to do is I'd like to keep all of the framework for this building and plant all of our grape trees to establish over the shape of this property. So I'd remove all of the smaller wood and just keep all of the solid framework, and eventually the whole grape, all of the grape trees will become that structure shape. So yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update on just a little bit of stuff that's happening here. Probably only like 10% of what's been happening here. And if anyone knows what this beauty is, I would love to know. I have no idea what it is, but I've got a few of them on this property and I really love them. We really love them. And there's quite a lot of large growth here, large growth oak trees, and yeah, we really want to protect what's already here. All of this land here, the turned over dirt, the tilled dirt, we don't want to do any tillage, we don't want to turn over any soil. We're going to do no dig, where you put the cardboard, compost and mulch down, basically preserving the mycelium. But this is already, like, this is their standard size of farming that they were doing when they came here. We just turned it over, we just leveled it out and this will be the size of our greenhouse. We're going to build about 30 meters by 10 meters for our big growing house, and we'll add heating to that, fire heating. I think that's the way we're going to go with that. And you can see the river just here. It's really beautiful. So all of this land here will become ours this month. And we've already got this mainland, and yeah, I'd like to maybe even stretch out this way. No one's really doing anything with this land, so maybe make some inquiries in the future when everything we're doing is full. But yeah, we're looking at about 10 acres here, and that should be enough to keep us going forever. I always said when I was younger that I'd have no less than 100 acres. And then when I was looking at houses 10 years ago, like I realized, like in Australia, that it's really not feasible. It's not like, you know, the way that the housing situation is set up in Australia is just so corrupt. Like no one can afford to buy a house there as a beginner nowadays. So I started looking into like 10 acres in Australia, and I even compromised and thought, well, 1 acre would do me. Like, you know, there's anything, so many things you can do with 1 acre. But yeah, we're looking at like providing a lot of produce to the European region surrounding us, and there's not much going on here in terms of organic, like permaculture. So yeah, I'll show you guys what I did a couple of days ago. So this is our back shed. Like there's a lot sort of in here, but this whole area here was roofed. So I ripped all the asbestos and framework from this corner, because every time we were walking past, like it was just a really sharp corner and quite useless. But we planted a couple of varieties of beans in here, and this is last year's compost that I did a post on. So yeah, really, really beautiful and rich. It was probably ready within a month of setting it up, and I just didn't really turn it over. But yeah, thought it'd be really interesting to see how beans go just in beautiful compost. So that'll grow up here and around this area here. So what have you guys been up to? Serengeti. Yeah, thanks for that, guys. I'll look into that. Lilac. Is that the like pinkish purple flower that I showed you just last one? Can you hear the birds? Like it's just so full of life here. When I came outside in the cold of winter, it was just dead silence, just nothing, void of life. And I was like, where the fuck have I moved to? Like, where did I move to? And yeah, now it's like alive, and I'm really blessed to be here. It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful place. And there's no questions about what I've previously posted about with the German, Polish and USSR invasions. Like there's no question about why they came to pillage this land. It's got a lot going for it, and the people are really interesting here. People don't wave when you say hello, or when you wave to somebody. No one says hello back, no one waves in return. So you just got to keep up that appearance, and you just got to keep, like, not take offense to it, because you got to understand the history that Lithuania has gone through. It's very, very dark. Australia, as a comparison, you know, like it's gone through the invasion, and the invasion policies are still in place, and it's basically all out war while people just sleep to the beat of the war drums. But in Lithuania, like, just they had it so hard, and when Lithuania left the Soviet Union, they were just kind of left with nothing. And yeah, it's really interesting to come here and to see how they have adapted to the tribulations that a lot of the world has faced, of course. But yeah, it's just really nice to be in a landscape of people that are still naturalized to their land. And when the Soviet Union came in, they tried to take away the Lithuanian language, and they fought for their own language. So when people ask me, like, what do Lithuanians speak? They speak their own language. Like, no other country in the world speaks Lithuanian, so they speak their own dialect. And it is so hard coming from an English language. And I know a lot of different languages, small pieces of them. I can't speak any language other than English completely fluently. But there's multiple languages actually that are happening in Lithuania. There's a language for the older people that you use, and there's a language for the younger people. So when my wife's teaching me, when my wife is teaching me language, she'll give me like 5 different words and for like different scenarios, and I'm like, oh my god, it's crazy. But we always pull apart the language together, and it's quite interesting. Like in the English language, we would call what you might see in the night sky, we would call it the Milky Way, and that's just like one of the names that they gave to something that they stole from us, and they just gave it all these spoon-fed baby brain names, like the Milky Way. Like, that's not a Milky Way, there's no milk in it. The language of Lithuania and the word that they use to explain what the Milky Way is what it is and what it still is. Like, in their language they call it the bird's path. So you can imagine on how much destruction they've tried to do with taking that language of the divine away from people, because without the language you don't have a way to gauge the land. If you don't know the original languages and certain codes that have been embedded by the natural tone of colonies, then you won't understand why we're here and what we're here to do. And that's a big part of etymology too, is cracking the code and breaking through the matrix. Once you see the linguistics that are used and have been replaced, things that have been replaced with other meanings, you really see straight through the matrix. I don't think that it's possible for anybody to have clear vision on anything that they claim to have vision on unless they understand the parables that are being used and the etymology, because the etymology actually shows us everything. And from Lithuania and you live in the UK, yeah, there's a lot of Lithuanians that live in the UK, but what I find, Maria, which is really interesting, is the majority, if not all, Lithuanians that go to the United Kingdom, they're only going there to make money, and then they come back to Lithuania because their heart is in Lithuania. Do you know much about that? If you want to destroy a culture and its connection, you destroy the language. That's right, brother. You destroy the language. Conformity, conform and uniform. Convince the form to make one form. And that's what they've done for centuries. They say thousands of years. We've been at war for thousands of years. What a lie. What a lie that we've been at war for thousands of years. No, we haven't. We have not been at war for thousands of years. The only times we've ever gone to war was since about 250 years ago. And then they teach us in our school books and encyclopedias that it's only ever been war. So you better get used to it. So, yeah. You live in Estonia. You're my neighbor. So, yeah, I'd love to go to Estonia one day. It's quite an interesting place, same as Lithuania. During the revolutions, Estonia was right beside them with the Latvians. And yeah, Baltic brothers. Jeff Cohen, did you get your tractor? Yep. Got a tractor about a month ago. Went out and saw it. I was looking at quite a lot of stuff on the market, and I didn't really want to spend 10,000 euro on something that just lifts up compost. But I needed something that was pretty durable, and I needed something with a bucket loader, with a front loader, that I could lift up heavy loads of mulch and compost, because I'll need to do that every year for quite a while, and I don't see myself capable of carrying wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow after 100 wheelbarrows to set up beds. And yeah, I just really needed a tractor, so I settled on something that was only €3,000, a really beautiful 1962 tractor that was made in the United Kingdom, and it has a bucket loader on it. So I'm just getting the hydraulics rebuilt for the front loader, and just replaced a few hoses myself, and just cleaned up the engine and pressure washed it and sent it away to a couple of guys in our village that one of my neighbours told me rebuilds and repairs tractors. So I just went and knocked on his door, and he couldn't understand a word I was saying, so I was using translator. I said, "Do you fix tractors?" He said, "Yes." I said, "I'll get my wife to call you." In Google Translator, he was like, "Okay." They came around, and I told him what I wanted done. I just wanted to get the radiator removed, flushed, and the radiator hoses replaced, and I needed to replace one of the tires, and yeah, it's just, everything's ready to go. I'm going to get it registered probably next month, and that's the story of the tractor for now. But I'm going to fully have it rebuild and really look after it. It's an old one, and I was looking for months for a tractor, and yeah, it's good that I finally don't have to look for that all the time anymore. Jamaica, yeah, the Caribbean, or the Caribbean, a lot of destruction has happened there, a lot, and if you look at Google Maps, which is, like NASA and US military, Google Earth imagery, they won't show you 99% of the place that we live, but they want you to think that this is the true projected model that we're living on. So they provide true imagery of satellites, so you can zoom in on certain parts of the Caribbean and go nuts, brother. If you zoom in on anywhere in that region, you'll find that the whole coastline has been bombed, the whole coastline. And it reminds me of, if you go to Easter Island, where the Rapa Nui heads are, if you go to Easter Island on Google Images and you just zoom in anywhere at all, you'll just find it looks like a golf field. There's just bomb holes everywhere, and if you just imagine what happened to those tribal people of that land, there's really a large-scale warfare. There's nowhere in the world that has escaped this notion of Romans conquistadors and the Roman Curia, the Holy Office of Rome. It's been a big battle for them. They've really worked very hard to have us in this place that we call Earth. They've really put us in a predicament. Yeah, I can read the land of Jamaica and anywhere in the Caribbean. Let nature speak her own language, and she doesn't just explode. There's no reason why a place would just be full of detonation areas. Pretty close to where I am here, which I see a lot of similarities between the Lithuanians and the Siberians. If you go to Siberia on the map, you just see where total devastation has happened. And let the land speak the story. You really don't need to ask anyone what's happened anywhere, because let the land speak the story. She will show you. And I don't subscribe to any news source that tells me what hasn't happened in any country. I look at the land and she'll tell you. She'll tell you every time what's happened there. There's nowhere in the world that wasn't a forest. And of course it's very important to go to the original stories of the tribal people, and they all have stories of giant trees. And you'll find them in the Caribbean. You'll find them in the Baltic Sea. You'll find them off the coast of Australia in every direction, because they were here and they were a living being. And why would they cut these giant trees down? Well, there's really only one simple answer to that, and the question is how old were all of these trees? So if none of the trees on this planet were older than 7,000 years, how old's the Earth? And you think I'm a Christian? No. But if you're telling me that we were here billions of years ago, but nothing on this planet can be dated accurately to 1 billion years. If you think uranium and carbon dating is accurate, it's common knowledge that it's not. Oh, but it's only off by 1,000 years. That's a lot. That is a lot. If you're talking, like, you know, who comes up with these numbers of billions of years ago? They're all Masons. And then all the followers that come after that. As soon as someone says billions of years, I don't have one fucking care about anything else they have to say. If you think the Earth is billions of years old and trillions of light years away, there's nothing more I need to hear, because that most important part of your history has been deleted. Therefore, what else do you have to say? Like, you might be able to identify a plant for me, that's nice, but you're missing the point, you're missing the cause, you're missing the purpose of divinity. And I've said it a long time, I've said it many times, and I feel like a bit of a broken record when I say it, but the whole world really does revolve around us. The whole world revolves around us. Earth is the center of all of existence, and everything revolves around us in the night sky. And you wonder why it's called Polaris? Break up the word Polaris. If you look at Polaris in the night sky, nothing. It doesn't move around anything. Everything revolves around Polaris as the center point, and Polaris is polar. Look at the word. Polaris is polar. And if you go to the middle of Antarctica, call it Mount Meru, that aligns with Polaris because it is polar, and that is the center point, and everything revolves around us. And there's a magnetic spiral. There is a magnetic spiral, and she appears green, beautiful green, like every other flourishing color on the planet. And that, what they call the northern lights and the southern lights. If you went to the Antarctic regions and you stood at Mount Meru and you looked straight up, you would see a spiral from the ground all the way to Polaris, which takes us back to Scalia Naturae in Latin, which was the original food chart, where they got the food pyramid from. But 250 years ago, 240 odd years ago, we knew that there was a ladder from the soil to the stars, and everything was encountered in the Great Spirit that run through everything. And so all they ever needed to do was take away Antarctica, and no one will ever know that there's a spiral, a literal spiral, that goes from the ground to the sky, beyond the firmament. And you know, the founder of NASA, I know there's a few cluey people on my account that know this, but the founder of NASA, look at his gravestone. It actually says on his gravestone, no man can ever escape the Earth's orbit. So when Charles Darwin on his deathbed says that he never wrote The Origin of Species and it was all a hoax, and you're still believing in it, what else more can I learn from you? What else more would I want to hear? nothing. I don't need to hear anything from you. I'm in my own world. I'm in my own path. We're all in our own worlds. But my goal is to live as true to the truth as I can, because then I unlock more truths, as long as you're on the right path. And so long as you spend time with people who are so far from the path, that's what you're inviting into your life. You're inviting into your life people who are led astray. So you'll be led astray. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Bring all your friends in front of me and I'll tell you who you are. And that's the truth, because you only surround yourself with people that you are likened to. So the moment that you want to spiritually evolve or become higher than you could ever be, you really need to evaluate what you surround yourself in, because we don't always need to have hundreds of friends, thousands of friends, all these people that really don't matter. What matters is, where are you going? Because we came here to be. They're laughing at us. They call us a human being and they're trying to make us into human doings. What are you doing? Not being? Well, I'm sorry, but you can do that. That's one of the great possibilities of life, is you can do whatever you want. And that's the system they've set it up to be, to do whatever you desire. And what do you desire? What do you desire? I'm thinking of, we've got about 2 months until we reopen the shop again. I'm thinking of adding another page onto the website, like an apothecary's cabinet, and just having different types of medicines in there that we can do certain packages, and really wanting to get into that. I really don't have anything else I want to spend my life doing other than just breaking people through the Inquisition. Like, during all of the Inquisitions of history, there was always that musician that kept singing. And even in the Holocaust of the Jewish people, I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in the Jewish Holocaust. A lot of people don't believe the Jewish Holocaust happened. And one thing is certain, is a lot of people were killed during that Holocaust. And pretty much right where I live, there was a ghetto. And Lithuania, where I live, lost 98% of its Jewish population, more than anywhere in the world. So when everyone says, oh, Nazi Germany, I don't know if that even happened. Come to Lithuania and talk to the babushkas that lost their Jewish friends that they spent growing up with, and they'll laugh at you. They'll laugh at you for saying that it didn't happen, because it happened. But what it was questionable, absolutely. What did these people have a knowledge of? They all knew astrology. They all knew astrology. So they knew everything about when to plant correctly. They knew everything about economics, because astrology would guide them into that fruition. If you know the charts in the zodiac, you can do everything accurately at the right time. You wouldn't plant your potatoes in the fire, would you? So why would you plant something in the wrong season that it won't grow in? And that's how the zodiac works. The zodiac works in rhythms, and everything's rhythmic. Everything that exists in this world is rhythmic and cyclical. Nothing in the universe is not sporadic. Everything's cyclical in spirals. And it's a rhythm that is recorded and embedded into all of the societies of people. And they all had different names for it. Call it astrology, call it whatever you want. Logging the stars, logging the algorithms of the universe. How can everything go around us when NASA doesn't say that? NASA doesn't say that everything goes around us. How can we be sure that you know the truth, bro? Well, you've got a choice to make. Show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. Show me where you go to for news and I'll show you who you are. And it's so true that what you let your news be, you will become. a lot of people will say, you know, like, Adam, you focus on the negative stuff. No, I don't. I present it. I don't focus on it at all. My heart is in growing, and that's what I do in this place that I live. And my heart is embedded and endowed into helping people grow. So that's why I shatter paradigms. That's all I've ever done. I didn't just, like 15 years ago, I would walk around and I would practice what I was saying before I said it. And I just had a lot of mishaps with conversations, and there's been many times where I've been at the table with people and they'll be like, man, talk about this because I couldn't get through to this guy. I couldn't get through to him about this information. And I'll shatter the code right there and then. And they'll be like, whoa, man, like you're the first guy that's been able to. But I set an intention. I set one of the most powerful intentions that I ever set. And it's really easy to set intentions. You sit in your space, you become calm, and you be true to your desire that you're setting the intention with. And you say, like I said, I want to know everything I need to know to do everything I need to do. And do you know what's going to happen? You've sent the message, you've set the code, and the rhythm changes from there. Everything's rhythmic. So how do you tap into that? With your intention. So roughly 10 years ago, I looked up to Einstein. I wanted to know everything Einstein knew. And I set an intention one day. I said, I want to know more than Einstein, and I want to have the consciousness of Christ. Within 2 weeks, I found out that Einstein was a shill and was an agent coadjuting for the Vatican, subjective to every maneuver the Pope sent him to do and perform. And there's no question about that. Einstein, he was the biggest hoax in history, one of. And you've got like Alexander Graham Bell, Isaac Newton, Henry Ford, all of these people that came out with all of these great technologies. They didn't invent none of this stuff. None of it. They stole it all from the already existing civilizations. They kept it behind the smoke screen for like 20 years. And then they brought it all out like a new invention. They deleted everyone's memories. And it was just, yeah, like it's a bit of a freak show when you think about it. Watching people say like, oh wow, I want to get one of those new car inventions. We already had cars. We had electric trams, electric buses hundreds of years ago. It's proof of that. Irrefutable, undebatable proof. And yeah, so someone said, I have lost many friends this last year and I see it as a blessing. Now I know who perceives life and nature as I do. Keep sharing your knowledge. Yeah, I couldn't give one shit about who I need to eliminate out of my life, because what I get in return of that is such great expansive growth. And if I even see a tiny piece of somebody trying to hold me back from something, there's a chance they might never ever hear from me again. And it might not be something that they're intentionally doing, but that's just part of their programming. But I have the free will and the guidance that I've set the intention for to be free of that. So I will not say, well, look, maybe I can help them. No, on my path, on the way I go. And that's really important for me, is staying firm to what's important to me. So yeah, we have to become strong, and naturally we become stronger by eliminating people out of our life. And you don't have to even explain anything to them. You just go on with the wind. And that's how we always were. We were always gone with the wind, and we traveled. Everyone was born to migrate, and that's what was really important, was everyone worked the land. There was no one that, worked behind a computer. We are computers. What are we feeding ourselves? A weekly fireside chat. That could be an idea. You should write a book to pass on all your knowledge to others too. I don't have time to write a book. I've had really powerful people want me to write their books for them even, and I haven't been able to allow that to happen because I'm on my path. And although I've got a lot of great information to share, I'm not one of those people that are the gurus. There is no guru that is stronger than you. Not one person in the world can be better than you. No one. No one can be stronger than you. No one can be more powerful than you. And no one can be more anything than you can be, because you are the only person that you can possibly be. So you are the best version of yourself. And a lot of people say, oh, I miss my grandma. Oh, I miss my grandpa, and so sad my mum has passed away. So sad that my dad has passed away. You are the most recent download of your whole ancestry. So you're walking in the footsteps of all of them. They're all walking with you. There's no one that has come before you that isn't in your DNA. They're all walking with you, and you have the ability to tap into all of those spiritual abilities that they have. Why do you think someone's great-great-grandpa was a great woodworker, and all of a sudden they pick up the chisel and a piece of wood and they become a master within seconds? Because we are the most recent download of all of our ancestry. And they don't want us to know this. That's why they attack the DNA. So, yeah, I'd really love to write a book, but I thought I would do something different. 10 years ago, I've been on Facebook for 10 years now, and I thought, instead of writing a book, how many people open a book and read it and go, fuck, I'd really love to ask the author this question. I always wanted to make it like a book where I could write it, like on Facebook, where everyone was living in their vanity, and I wanted to tap right into that vanity platform that they were using and just enter their minds to just change things a little bit in their life. And yeah, I'm sure I could write a book and reach the world in a greater way, but I just wanted to do it in a way where people could conversate with what I was saying. And yeah, very quickly, at the click of a finger, I block someone. If someone says something like bullshit on any of my posts, I just block them straight away. I don't have time to go, well, this is the sort of people that I want to help. No, I'm attracting my tribe. My vibe is attracting my tribe. And the only tribe that I want are people who are wanting to be their own gurus. I don't need people to look up to me. I don't want people to look up to me. It makes me sick to even think about that. We came to be none other than the one self that we are here to be. So who in the world, name one person that can be cooler than you, because they can't be you. So you are you. And look at the word guru, spell it, G, you are you. That's the word guru. So even spelling out the word guru tells you the truth. G, you are you. Only you are you. Only you can be you. So when you've got all these fucking agents, Vatican agents, bring me any guru with more than 100,000 followers on the internet. Bring me any guru that has more than 100,000 followers on Facebook, and I will show you that they are all operating for the Pope. You name a religion, name any religion on the planet. Every single religion on the planet, every religion on the planet is controlled by the Vatican. So a little bit of Hindu, a little bit of Islam, a little bit of Christianity, a little bit of Pentecostalism, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, Seventh-day Adventism, Mormonism, Russellites, whatever you want. They are all governed by Masons. And where are you going to go? You're going to stay in the box, in their box, and what are you going to do? You're going to stay as an owned asset of Rome, following their scribes. How can Islam be created by the Vatican? Well, like I said in my radio interview the other day, I'd really love it if everyone listened to it. I put a lot of heart into the stuff that I present. Muhammad, the prophet of Islam, his whole family was Roman Catholic. Get a grip, everyone. I had a really beautiful person message me years ago, and she said she could never do mushrooms because Her family would disfellowship her, like they do in a lot of religions. If you do this, your family will never talk to you again. If you leave the kingdom of Jehovah, if you don't go to the kingdom hall, your family will disfellowship you. You'll be excommunicated and they'll never speak to you again. Good. Let them stay in the box. Let them stay trapped. They are having their souls usurped from them. It's really unfortunate, but we've got to keep moving. Human being what? You got to do what you got to do, and you got to be what you got to be. Came here to do one thing, to be. There's nothing that anybody can do, nothing that anybody can do in this world other than to see, to taste, to touch, to feel, to smell, to hear, and to feel and to know. So if you can think of anything else that we can do, that's what we're here to do. So all of those senses that we come with, that's what we have to do. We are diviners. We are energy diviners, and we're here to divine the land. We're here to witness the glory of everything that is in nature, and to just be your simple self. Humble, relax, stop trying to be something at some certain time. Got to go to university. I've just passed school. Mum and Dad are so proud of me. I've got to go to university. And university is one song, one sentence, one belief system, and you can't challenge that. And every university on the planet is governed by the Vatican. Did you know no scientific information can ever be publicized on mainstream news unless the Pope has given it a go-ahead? Wake up, people. Connect back to the land. What did you come here to do? Wait, did you just say that no scientific information can be presented in mainstream opinion unless the Pope has given it a tick box? Prove it. Name any scientific facility that's not controlled by a Knight of Malta. Ta-da! All roads lead to Rome. So, singing on the same instrument I've been singing on since I was a child, I've really come into this being, and that's what we're here to do. Just come into the being of who you are. Spend time, as much time as you can in the outdoors, and be prepared for what they're going to throw at us in this system. Be prepared for 2 years of lockdown, hard lockdown, what they call hard lockdown. Where are you gonna be? On the 6th floor of your 6th apartment? 6-inch walls? Where are you gonna go? Find yourself on the land. You'll never be seen without it. I don't know about this guy. This guy sounds like he's fucking quackers. This Adam guy, like, he says a lot of cool stuff, but then there's things that I don't agree with. I don't care what you do and do not agree with. I'm just telling you the truth. And the smaller your house, the smaller your mind. The smaller your property, the smaller your mind. The bigger plan that you've got on your land, the bigger the heart and mind. And that's what has to provide us with sustenance. Go to the shop, get everything you need. What are you going to do when the shop's shut down? Because it won't be the first time in history that they shut everything down, and only their industry provides. One of the greatest goals that they have coming through the United Nations programs is the complete collapse of the economy, the complete collapse of world food as we know it, and then the solution, which is, don't worry, you've got all the food you need through us. Where's your COVID ID? If you don't see where we're going from now, you're in a lot of trouble. I'm like, yeah, no, me and my friends went to a restaurant last night and they had this like smart sign in, and I didn't sign in. I was like, fuck that. And we didn't have to sign in. These are only implementary stages, and they have big things coming. The founder of the United Nations was the ex-president of the Psychic Research Society of America, and also the ex-director of the CIA. So what's a former CIA director and the founder of the United Nations doing, being the president of the Psychic Research Society? You know, like these people are really into magic, really into understanding the psyche, and that's their number one weapon, is how to. So like, I'll give you a perfect example. If you go study psychology at university, they'll teach you one form of the psyche, which doesn't actually allow you to become free. It just allows you to like program people to a certain level. But the knowledge that the Magi's have on the psyche is phenomenal. They can make anyone do anything that they're told to do, just based on vibration of sound traveling through the room. And the vibration of sound that travels through the land naturally, even in the colours, are just what allow us to be. And yeah, I'm just like going on a bit of a tangent, but so lovely hearing the birds singing around you. Yeah, I come out here at like, what's the time? It's 9:15 at night. It's fucking crazy. Like, I've never been anywhere in my life where give it midnight and you'll still see the sun setting on the horizon. It's insane. So I'll show you where the sun is. The sun is here. This is what it looks like at 9:17 at night. There's not many natural clouds in the sky, but gotta make do. Gotta do what you gotta do. And yeah. Healthy boundaries are healthy for a reason. The more you love yourself, the higher you can vibe and love others. That's exactly right. So when you're surrounded by people who don't really know where they're going, you will form to that. Like, I don't know where I'm going in life, Adam. Shit, I don't want to really spend much time with this person because I won't know where the fuck I'm going. Like, all the people that I surround myself with are foot forward and they know where they're going. And I'm not saying like, you know, I'm not this arrogant, hateful person that just cuts off the whole of society, but I just don't have time. I don't have the energy to surround myself with people banging heads. And I spent a lot of time in that. Do you think a lot of things were hidden in mudslides? Yeah, for sure. Well, I was just talking about Christmas Island. The Rapa Nui heads, they're like 5 feet above ground and there's 40 feet underground. So a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like how did they get buried? What's happening? There's so much, like, you know, they've got all of this like excavations in Cairo. What we've found, it's what we always knew. There's nothing that we're finding. We're not finding anything that we didn't already know. Nothing new under the sun. It's everything that they can find in excavations is in the Alexandrian Library and the Vatican archives. They've got everything on record. And then they just make, like, sure, a lot of you know who Aleister Crowley is, but he said it quite clearly. He said, all mainstream science is a way to make marvel of already known wisdom. It's exactly how it is. It's like all these people like, oh my God, man, do you know that, oh, here's a perfect one. Mainstream science came out around about 7 years ago and said, scientists have just discovered there's valleys and springs at the bottom of the ocean. Just discovered. Fucking says that in the Christian Bible. It's written like 1,000 years ago. So don't make marvel of already known wisdoms. 100% of everything projected in the mainstream is to sway opinion and to take people a certain direction. If you fucking believe that there are rocks flying around in space that could hit this Earth and create another extinction, just you wait to see what the Jesuits have in store for us. They've been propping up the whole asteroid meteorite theory for well over 100 years. And that was one of the main things of NASA. You know, type in NASA and meteorite and hit the news tab on Google. NASA announces a meteorite just skimmed the Earth's surface. So we're safe this time. Wait till you see what they have in store for us. they're just terror hoaxes. They just create terrorism everywhere they go. NASA's part of the program. And yeah, Disney, Walter Disney was part of the founding of NASA, and that's common knowledge. And you think Walt Disney, you think those Disneylands, all those Disneylands, you think they were built as theme parks? All those Disneylands are Tartarian temples. Have you seen Walt Disney's house? It's like the most Tartarian thing I've ever seen in my life. So there was a group of people that just came and stole it all. They got it all for free. Freemasons. They don't even have to be Masons. They don't have to build anything. They just got it all for free. You're an incredible truth warrior, Adam Lewington. So much wisdom and truth bombs. Much love and respect to you, dear brother. Thank you. Much love. Really appreciate it. The spiral patterns you speak of, any relation to the work published by Walter Russell and the spiral periodic chart? So, the spiral periodic chart is just one of the periodic charts of elements. And going back to what I was talking earlier in the video, the Scala Naturae, which was the ladder of being in Latin is what it means. It shows a full ladder of all of everything. So it shows the minerals, shows the animal domain, shows the oceanic domain, it shows what's in the sky, it shows the whole plant domain below that, it shows the human domain, it shows the spiritual domain, and then it shows the cosmic domain. So it laid out all of the domains, but now we've got a human at the top and all these animals underneath it and plants. That's how the food chart has been created. So we've had the knowledge stolen that the periodic table of elements goes all the way from the soil to the stars. And so the reason why they changed the periodic table of elements away from the spiral and into twin towers, if you didn't notice that, with both H's at the top, helium and hydrogen at the top of the periodic table of elements. H and H, 88. It's Nazi code is 88. It's the two symbols of infinity, the path of the lunar and the path of the sun. So it's the two pillars of the Kabbalah, which is lunar and solar. So that's what they did to the periodic table of elements. They changed it so that we couldn't understand how astrology worked within those elements. So now we're just looking at a bunch of blocks and we're like, fuck, how do I... There's a video on YouTube where I can remember the periodic table of elements, and maybe I can sing this song that helps me remember what everything is, and it's just all bullshit. So like, if you don't have the spiralic periodic table of elements, you won't have a clue on what cosmic element governs that. There's nothing, there's no molecule in existence that doesn't have its shape in the zodiac. So, like, all of the ancient traditions, they knew, every ancient tribe of the world knew that all of the anatomical structures or molecules, whatever you'd like, they were all written into the sky. And they are constellations, so there's everything as above, so below. There's nothing that is below that is not written above. And that's written into the ancient texts. So, yeah, they took everything away that was basically enabling the knowledge to show us that we are spiralic. We are spiraling. Light enters into the retina spiralically. And our optic cells send light spiralically. They spiral, and blood travels in every vein spiralically. It spirals. When you see water going over the edge of a waterfall, it spirals. When you urinate, it spirals. Every time you urinate out the lower gate, you always see it spiraling out. There's nothing that does not spiral in the universe. Everything is spiralic. I'm not a great reader, so Audible or lectures are better for me. This format is perfect for my way of absorption. Yeah, I'm much the same. I listened in my earlier days to a lot of audios while I was doing things, and that's how I really tap in. And education is made in such a way where, like, the reason why the curriculum of the education boards of the United Nations were drafted the way that they were drafted is because they wanted people to be so bored of what they were watching that they couldn't want to learn anymore. They wanted people so bored with what they were learning so that you didn't even want to learn. It's one of the powers that they get us with. And how many times have you watched something really interesting on a particular plant or a particular modality of teaching, and you're like, man, I wish this guy was my teacher because he really keeps me in the mood to want to learn. There's so many times in my life where I've sat on the edge of my seat listening to an audio for like 8 hours. And I didn't have time to do anything else. I was focused because this guy's way of teaching, or this woman's way of teaching, was just so eloquent and so humorous and just so engaging. But the way that school education is drawn out is uniform. It's a one-form structure. And yeah, it's the way that it is, and that's the way that they want it. I've never felt so grounded in my life and truth as I have in the last years. I'm remembering who I am, and it brings strength in boatloads. So yeah, all those things that your parents want us to do, and just remember, everyone, like, remember that those people who set expectations for our lifestyles, they are the most programmed people in the world. The people who came before us dealt with a lot of pain of programs, and we don't need to shake them to wake them. We just need to embrace them and just distance ourselves if we have to. We don't have to tell grandma. We don't have to tell grandma that she poisoned us her whole life with that poisonous water. If your grandma's like 78, 80, 85, why are you telling her that the water was poisoned? Why are you, in her last few years of serenity, give her some peace? There's a certain age where you just have to let it go. But yeah, like, just with saying, remembering who you are, we have to remember the boundaries that we need to set with people who try to help us when they tell us who we need to be and what we need to do. And have you got a job yet? When are you going to get a job? Fuck the jobs. Fuck the system. It's not what we came to do. Build your own structure. And if you go into a job for 2 years where you didn't want to and you became insane to the point of mental breakdown, you just lost maybe 10 years that you might have to take to recover to come back to your center point as self. So read the lyrics of John Lennon's song, Working Class Heroes, and he lays it out perfectly. And you wonder why you never hear that song on the radio? You wonder why you never hear the song from John Lennon, Working Class Heroes, on the radio, and you wonder why they took him out. And you think that Paul McCartney was any good in that situation? Paul McCartney, Knight of Malta, he was a fucking Knights Templar. Paul McCartney. Poor John Lennon. All he wanted was the best for the world. Listen to that set of lyrics, Working Class Hero, John Lennon. Thoughts on Krishna consciousness. Call it whatever you will. Call it Buddha consciousness. Call it Christ consciousness. Call it what it is. It is the chrism. It is the consciousness of the oils going up our spine. And do you wonder why it's called salivation? Similar to the word salvation. And what is the one difference between the word salvation and salivation? It's the I. And one of the other reasons why they attack everything we put into our bodies is because they want to change the way that the Krishna spirals up the spine, the Ida and Pingala, the male and the female energy. Call it correctly, it's the lunar and the solar energy. Because we're cosmic beings. Do you believe in life in other planets? I believe we are here right now. So what's your question? Do you think that there's life on other planets? I don't give a fuck. I don't want to hear any NASA questions. There's nothing that NASA has to provide us with that's any form of relevance. NASA in Hebrew means deception. No more questions about that. G-U-R-U. That's right, that spells guru. The word guru is G-U-R-U. G, realize. You are you. I am me. So that's what we are. Six, 666. Yeah. We are the beast. The Bible says very clearly that the number of the beast, and everyone when they see the word beast, they think, oh my God, it's the devil, it's a beast, like the Beauty and the Beast. Like we've all been programmed and trained to think that the beast is some sort of a monster. But beast is what we are. We are the beast, and we are the number of the beast because we are carbon force of life. We are 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. And every single one of those atoms have 3 points to them. The proton, the electron, and the neutron. The sun, the moon, and the earth. And when you look through a telescope, it tells you what scope is. When you look through a microscope, it's the same thing. Everything you see through a microscope is what you'll see through a telescope. Because you can see all these planets, and you can see the protons and electrons and the neutrons through the telescope, just as you see it straight through an electron microscope. That's why it's called an electron microscope, because you see protons, electrons, and neutrons. But they don't call it a proton, neutron, and electron scope. They just call it an electron microscope. Just like they call the electric guitar. They don't call it an electromagnetic guitar, but it's got magnets that pick up the vibration and create the electric waveforms. How crazy would that sound if we're like, what are you doing, man? I'm playing the electromagnetic guitar. There's no such thing as an electric guitar. It is electromagnetism forming vibration. And you know, if you actually, like, if you pluck one string on a guitar, you see the vibration spiral up and down the spring, or the string. So if you're looking at how waveforms travel on the side, you see the sine wave travels like the serpent, which is this Krishna. It's the serpent. But if you look at it coming at you, it's spiraling. So it's the sine wave is not moving like this, like the sinus. When we breathe in air, the air spirals into our lungs and electrifies our body. And they tell you, if you don't breathe the right amount of oxygen, you won't have breath. Because they're telling us that breath is not electric. The breath is full life force. And what is the largest organ in your body? Not the skin, because that's the external shell that encases everything. The largest organ in our body are the lungs. And how do people breathe like this? Take a deep breath in, and the breath out. That was like full capacity. But how many people do you know that breathe to full capacity? And it's just oxygen. It's just oxygen. It's just breathing it in and I feel good. No, it's life force, and it spirals. The breath that you breathe spirals into your lungs, and they're energy generating packs. The lungs are energy generating packs. And yeah. 666. My grandmother was a native Indian, and she always taught me to engage with the mother, the planet nature. Nature will teach you what you need to know if you engage your spirit with that of nature. It has all of the energy that you can communicate with if you listen. Yeah. And I was just saying to someone yesterday in a conversation, and I say it all the time, it's like the most important word in Indigenous Australian language, Dadari, and it means, and like we're taught in the Jesuit, Roman Catholic encyclopedias of the world. Every encyclopedia of the world is written by the fucking Vatican. Go get me an encyclopedia set that's not written by the Vatican. So you want to hear about the Inquisition? Go get an encyclopedia and believe everything you see in there, and you'll be good little trained goyam. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, the word Dadri. So in the encyclopedia, we're told that these people didn't have much of a language. They didn't have many understandings of anything, and we come to tell them our way. And Dadri, in Indigenous Australian Arnhem Land language, means to sit silently in nature in order to observe the secrets of the universe. So every time someone's like, oh, have you got a book I can recommend? How often do you sit and listen? And why do you think in Freemasonry, when you're the entered apprentice, why do you think the entered apprentice in Freemasonry is not allowed to talk at the dinner table? Because they know you have nothing to say. When you're learning the path of wisdom, don't come to my dinner party and tell me everything you think you know. Just listen to what the elders say. Listen to what the people that you came to see have to say. Yeah, man, is this place Luciferian? Like, how many times do you think if the entered apprentice was allowed to talk in Freemasonry, how many kids do you think would be sitting at that dinner table and saying, is it true that the Illuminati rules the world? Don't ask any more questions. We don't have a policy where you can talk until you have reached your tiler position. Once you've tiled the floors of the cathedral, then you can have your say in our worship halls. So really profound definition for language of a culture that knows absolutely nothing. And as I've previously written, the tribes of the original land of Australia, they have, so in Kemet, or Egypt if you like, they called it alchemy. And there was a town inside Kemet. Holy shit, there's a snail inside my boot. A lot of people call it Egypt, and it's not. It's a white man's word, just like the Sphinx is the white man's word. And there's every name for everything in the Kemetic culture has been decimated, and so they called it. There was Kemet, which is where chemistry was born, the form that we have today. And inside Kemet there was Elkemet, which was the town where alchemy was born. And all of the people of Egypt, they wandered from the land of Australia. And go spend time with the elders of Australia, they'll tell you this. You wonder why the original tribes of Australia, do not acknowledge any other title other than the original people. And then the government comes out and they're like, oh, they want to be called the original people because they're the original people that lived in Australia. No, they are the original people that came to this world. They are the first tribes born with the information. And when everyone points to Mars, they point up. And an elder said to me once, where do you point when you point to Mars? And I was like, up. He's like, it's because you're a white fella. When we point to Mars, we point that way. And my whole body moved, and I was like, oh my God, like, why does my body move like this? It's because when the truth is told, you shake, and when it resonates with you, it just moves your whole being. So in Australia, the original tribes called it El Kira or El Karinga. So they had a very profound understanding of alchemy. And put your chemistry books away. Put all your chemistry books away, because all of those things just focus on the physical world. But when you go into alchemy, you're focusing on all non-physical matter, because you're putting your mind to the matter, and that's what creates the spirit. And that's what the most important part of the land is. So you think you're walking on the land, but you're actually walking with the spirit of nature on the land. So as soon as they took that knowledge from you, you became absolutely weakened at the knees, with no direction, no aims, no ability to know. So when we look at the word spiritual, it's spirit, you all. We all have spiralic patterns running inside our body because of the nature of spirituality of the universe. Everything is spiralic. You're welcome. Know thyself, know your enemy. You know how they say, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer? Where does that saying come from? This is all about the children and giving them a future. Most adults are too far gone. Yeah, I feel that. But we're still good people deep inside. We're all still good people. And you can take a man from Africa, but you can't take Africa from a man. So that's a great one, isn't it? Because they're telling you that you can steal a man from his country, but you can never steal the culture and the country out of the man. So it's always, they don't want us to know that it's inside us. Inherently, it's in our blood. And when you reconnect back to that, all the memories come through again. You don't need to read gardening guidelines. You just need to watch the forest, see how everything breaks down, call it permaculture if you want. And one thing to say about permaculture, you think that Australia, white man, invented permaculture in the 1970s? No. What land was he living in? He was living in Australia. And what land did he live in to learn? Who cultivated the lands of Australia? Permaculture is the oldest science that we were born with. Is how does the land work naturally? Then that is how we will work the land. That's what permaculture is. And you think that a white man came into Australia and took it to the world? No. Permaculture is in the heart of every man. Call it that if you want. It's just going back to nature. So coincidental that permaculture started in Australia, where what's the book called? The Greatest Estate on Earth. Big book, this thick, this big, and it's just all of the poetry from all of the invaders and the militants that came to invade beside the invaders. And it's a book of poetry on what was observed by the poets and the writers when they came to Australia the first time. And there's poems in there about going up the Murray River and going inland to Australia, to Uluru, to the very centre on a boat. And then you go to the maps today and the whole land is just salt lakes because they stopped the oceans from travelling to the middle of Australia. So, yeah, while we're like taken away from learning the land, they're changing the land. And we're going and living at the bottom of a river valley. And it was just so ironic to me when I was living in Brisbane, and everyone that lives in Fortitude Valley, in the middle of the bottom of the valley, when it floods, they're like, oh my God, why is it raining so much and why is my house underwater? Where do you live? The valley. What's a valley? Where water travels. We need to go back to nature, and we need to know, like, we shouldn't be living in the bottom of the valley. We shouldn't be living somewhere that was once the bottom of the ocean. It's not rocket science, and rocket science isn't even an intelligible science anyway, because it's physics. It's the physical element of chemistry, and that's bullshit. It's alchemy that we want. We don't want chemistry. We want alchemy. We are born alchemists. We are chemists of the all, which includes spirituality. In America, people are so detached from magic wisdoms because of main slavery media. Yeah, I come from Australia, and a lot of Australian people, they say, those American people, fuck, they're dumb. They're like the dumbest people in the world. They're the dumbest people in the world. They're dumb. And like, you ask them to name a three-sided shape, and they can't even think of a triangle. Name a three-sided shape. I don't know. Australians, if any Australian doesn't know that the Australian government is registered to Washington, D.C., so Australia is a corporate entity registered to US, Washington, Brain Washington. What's the Washington Monument? 111 feet underground, 555 above ground. 555 plus 111 is 666. So who's running in the secret society and who's like eyes closed? Whose eyes are wide shut? Movies have caused young girls to want to be witches, yet it's all demonic propaganda or Vatican bullshit. Yeah, so with all those movies like Harry Potter and The Craft and all these movies that were like, you know, like magic is inherent in us. Like we are, going back to alchemy, like we are all capable of everything. And what they're doing with Hollywood is they're promoting blackcraft witchery, so that you want to be a Mason, or you can go and join the Order of the Eastern Star if you're wanting a female fraternity, because Freemasonry is male-only fraternity where you can bring your wife if she wants to come to the dinners, but you can't join. It's like, what a fucking freak show that you go and join the Masonic Lodge, lodge your soul to them, and go and learn about the solar and the lunar pillars, and in a non-woman's fraternity. Like, where's the magic in that? Or you can go and join Ordo Templi Orientis, and it's inclusive of all, but it's all governed by something, isn't it? It's all, you can go and join whatever you want, but just stay joined to your spirit, and you won't need to join anything. You get that knowledge from the land. Who is Aleister Crowley? Always thought his name was interesting. Crow Lay. The crows always fly directly on the ley line. He's a very rich boy of a very rich man, and he spent all of his father's money on learning black ceremonial magic and trying to tap into his inner prana, and he's just really dark though. His intentions were for himself. So he never really, I think he died at like 48 or 52 or something like that, and it doesn't matter who Aleister Crowley is. He was just a freak. Look at him. Nothing to say. It's just, yeah. There's many books written on him. I've had books written by him, and he's got a lot to say about what's his intention. Yeah, that's right. Directly related to the Bush family. Thank you all for your kind messages. Beyond grateful to you too. Yeah, Aleister Crowley did write the modern Bible of Satanism, and then Anton LaVey came in and became the front man, and it's all just rubbish. No need to worry about who he was, worry about who you are. Gates is trying to block the sun, so he blocks info coming to conscious beings. So if you know that the average human heartbeat, there's an average human heartbeat, originally we all beat to the same vibration and pulse. Now if you capture your pulse and you compare that to the pulse wave rate of the sun, which they call in other language, a lot of languages refer to the sun by the name of soul, which is because it is our soul, it's the electric. That wave of the sun, the sol, the soldier, sold to die, with the sun on their shoulder. We all should be vibrating at the same wavelength of the pulse of the sun and our heart. So they've changed so much, they've put so many people on pharmacy medicines where no one's got an average rhythm. Gates isn't blocking the sun, it's all Vatican rubbish. Love listening to your Facebook lives, but during your downtime I would love to absorb knowledge. Could you provide us with a recommended book list by chance? Go to nature. Like, if you're asking that and you spend a lot of time in nature, come to me for a book. Never, ever do I just give people books. Like, I never just recommend a book if people are like sitting in their house most of the time. The last thing I want to do is give people a reason to sit in their house and read another thing that keeps them out of nature. Go back to nature. Nature has everything, and I've just talked about that a lot in this video, about how the way to understand the universe is by going into nature and listening, because she teaches everything. There's nothing you can learn in any field of science that you cannot learn in nature. Christic spiral. I was just talking about that. 1 hour with a good teacher beats reading 30 books. Thank you for sharing. Beautiful messages. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. I just wanted to, I don't know, like, I really don't have much time. I was like building a fence today, yesterday. Went to the markets. like I woke my wife up this morning, I was like, market day, let's go get some plants. And yeah, there's a lot of people who, like the guy we bought plants from today, he's just never been at the markets before, and he had so much stuff that we haven't been able to get from other people. So yeah, it's just really important to, I've got so much stuff to do here. Like I really want to do a before and after, like a before when we moved into this property and what we've been able to do in 3 months. I've worked my ass off so hard, and it's really paid off just in like having that place where we're not surrounded by other people's energies. And yeah, I really desire community, and that's all I've wanted for a long time, so I can't wait to have community here. All of this COVID stuff is bullshit. Like, we got over here without having to take any tests or do any of that stuff, so I'm really hoping that in very, very soon time we can have families here and, you know, living in their own spaces, and they can build whatever they want here. And I don't want to have a place where it's my land and it's our land and come and ask us what you want to do here. Like, I want people to come here. I want people to feel free. I want people to feel that there's no stupid questions. I want people to feel that they can just be in their own element and their zone. And I want to bring a vibrancy of community into Lithuania. That's, like, I've already talked to my wife about it and she's keen. We lived in communities in Australia, and most of the time we were living in Australia, we were living in our bus, and there was like a time where we were just driving around Australia with no number plates on the bus, no registration, and no problem, didn't have any problems. It's just strange and funny how the universe works like that to protect, you know, people that are living in the truth. Like about 1 month ago, I was driving on the main highway that connects Poland, Latvia to Lithuania. So it's like the biggest highway that runs through it, and everyone's always talking about how bad it is for accidents and how dangerous it is. So here I am on the road coming home, and there's 3 cars in front of me that overtake this semi-trailer. And so I'm driving in my Volvo and I'm following the crowd. Like, I just overtake the semi-trailer with these 3 cars, and I couldn't see anything coming the other way. And in a click of the finger, the traffic island appeared with big steel signs in the middle and traffic coming towards me, and the truck right beside me blocking. Like I had no choice. I was doing probably like 120, 130 kilometers an hour overtaking, and I just stayed focused, and I was like, okay, the safest thing to do is to just go straight through these metal poles and just get ready for it. It was a very quick moment. Anyways, I went straight between the truck and the poles, and I lost both mirrors, 2 wheels, and the clutch blew on my car. And the truck driver got out, and he asked if I was alright, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine, man, this is a Volvo, like, she'll be right. He was like, okay, well, if you want, I can drive you to the closest town to get a new wheel. And I was like, no, I've got 2 broken wheels, and I'll just get a tow truck to my house. And he's like, that'll be expensive, I'll just drive you to the next place. People are really fucking friendly in Lithuania when there's a connection that can be made. And I just said to him, like, it's all good. I have to wait, like... Anyways, my point of the story is the truck driver told me that I was able to push his truck over, and it was a big semi-trailer. It was a like 18-wheel truck, and so I could have died that day, and you know, at the best I could have been really badly injured, but I just went straight through the thin of the gap of space to be safe, and I just pulled over, and I was like, holy shit. And yeah, it's funny because I needed a wheel alignment on my car, and when I got to about 120, the car would just start shuddering and vibrating. But since that accident, it automatically aligned the car, so I didn't need to get another wheel alignment. But it's just funny how the universe works like that, isn't it? And it reminds me of a time. I'll tell you a funny story. So when I was younger, I used to get into a lot of fights, and my nose used to be broken here and there. If you look at it, it is completely straight, like completely straight. It used to be able to, like, people used to always talk about how broken my nose was, broken in 2 parts. So one night, I got into a fight with this guy, a long time ago, and he was holding a CD album in his hand at the time we got into this dispute, and the CD album was called Savior. Anyways, we got into a bit of an argument, and he went to punch me. I blocked his punch, and then he went for another one, and he punched me straight in the nose and run straight out of the place we were. And the security guard from the street we were on chased him down the street and pinned him to the road. Police called me the next day, and they said, do you want to press charges against this guy? And I said no, because my nose was broken in 2 parts and he straightened my nose. So I could have got $4,000 or $5,000 for victims of crime, which is something they do in Australia, but I said no. And it's funny how the universe works like that. Anyways, since then I've never gotten into any disputes or arguments. It just like really changed a lot for me in that moment. And yeah, it's just like I've got so many stories where the universe has always been able to provide for us, because what is your path? What is your intention? Then you will be protected. If you don't know where you're going in life, then there will be nothing that knows what to do to protect you. So you must always have a set direction and intention, and you'll always be governed by the force that surrounds that as a recognition, because it's a rhythm, and the rhythm is recorded. So yeah, this is the most fascinating chat I've heard in years. Oh, come to my campfire, you'll hear it on a daily. And what else have we got? Can you speak on cryptocurrencies? Yeah, the crypt. The crypt is where you put dead bodies. And you know what they do with those dead bodies? They take all of their money. Remember World War One, World War Two? Name any war where they weren't stealing money. Say, man, I found this decentralized currency. Like, we don't know who created it. The guy's like, really well hidden because he doesn't want to be found out. Yeah? Well, the crypt is where dead bodies are. That's what a crypt is. And if you look at Masonic symbolism, they use Sex Majestic symbolism and Chaldean numerology. They do not use or recognize zeros or O's in Freemasonry. So if you're looking at symbolism, you just erase the zeros and O's and you'll see a big code that appears right in front of you. And crypto is just take away the O or the zero and it's crypt. So in Freemasonry, the crypt is where dead bodies are put. And what I can say about cryptocurrency is, if you have savings in crypto, but you don't have savings in silver, your question should be, where should I invest? Invest in solid metals. Invest in something that has always been an economically viable material. And yeah, I won't talk too much on that. How are Jews and Jesuits related? Great question, Jamie. But the one question that I will not answer on public media is how the Jews and the Jesuits are connected. Because the only time you will ever be blocked from mainstream social media is by talking about the connection between Jews and the Vatican. So I won't go there. And I know a lot of people that have had their accounts fully locked because of talking about it, and I just play the game smart. But that should basically answer your question. I don't know anything. Book Under the Quandong Tree, book written by Australian Aborigines, talks about Australia being where it all we began. Yeah, so Uluru is the sacral chakra of the planet. And every country's tribes will tell you that. So it's the beginning. It's the beginning of the meridian points of the body of the earth. So you've got like your chakras, your meridian lines, your song lines, your dream lines, whatever you want to call that. But the earth has the same thing, and that's how the ancient people saw the earth. They saw her as not as a rock floating in space, not as a lump just flying through accidental space, all of the ancient tribes of every country saw the earth as alive and conscious, exactly as they were. So that's why they gave big ceremony to her. I haven't read that book, Tina, but it sounds great. Can you share more information on your interpretation of the Crown? Crown orders the vaccine for ideal design using AI. What do you see at the Crown? So, the corona is the Latin word for crown. And what they're doing is, with the corona test, is they're breaking through the crown. Because you've got your first eye chakra, Ra, the spiralic energy of the universe. And so what they're doing is they're breaking through the sacred space below the crown, and they are disconnecting it. And I don't want to sound like, don't want to sound like someone who doesn't enjoy the sunsets. 10 o'clock at night. Look at that. It's 10 o'clock at night and I can still go planting out in there. It's great, isn't it? Yeah, I don't really like, the Crown of London, the House of Windsor, the inner city of London, is all governed by the Vatican. That's why, if you look at the Crown of London symbol, the crest, the crown, look at the order of symbols. There's always an order of symbols. You got the crown. Right at the top of the Crown of Windsor, London, you have the crest of Malta, which is Vatican Templars. So who's who in the zoo? We know that the Vatican is at the top of the order of the physical realm. And that's why the Vatican keys, since 1731, in the Council of Trent, were changed to the Key of St. Peter and the Key of St. Paul. And that's what they say. They say that that's what the meaning is. But pre-1731, the keys of the Vatican were one key to the spiritual realm and one key to the temporal realm. So they held the flag of power and said, we have the key to all maternal and external forces. So who goes and who stays shall be governed by us. And they've written on their papal bulls all of their black magic and put it into bolts covered in blood, like they're real black magicians. And we knew this, like we had a common knowledge in the 1600s, what was truly known as the 600s, because they added 1,000 years to the calendar. So I would say like 1630s, 1640s, 1638. But to say it correctly, it would be 638, because they added 1,000 years. In that era, every single person in every part of the world was out and about trying to overthrow Rome and the Vatican. And that's where the last biggest Inquisition came from, which was called the Reformation. And Rome created the Jesuits to counter the Reformation. So there was the Counter-Reformation. And as I mentioned in my radio interview the other day, there's Jesuits that are still funded and paid by the Vatican to go out to all of the secondhand bookstores and to find every book on the Counter-Reformation and to delete them all. Because God forbid you know what happened in the Counter-Reformation, you'd know what was going on. So what I can say about Crown is we need to look at etymology and the word roots. What is the place of London? What is the place of the Vatican? They both hold temporal power. It's temporary power. And only if you let them, they hold spiritual power. And what they're trying to do with the AI technology is to eliminate, like they have been for a long time, they're trying to eliminate all spiritual power. So that's where AI comes in, is to remove the soul and to reform us to a whole new way of being. And it's really evil what they're trying to do. Campfire's already lit. Got some smoke pouring off one, I'll add some wood to it, just for you. So